Thomas here and welcome back to another video. So today we're back here for another speed build, and today we're going to go ahead and create this 1 million simoleon mansion. So if you'd like to go ahead and download this for yourself, it is up in the gallery now. My origin ID is RealThomasTV1, and I'll go ahead and put a link in the description to the online gallery if it's easier for you to download things that way. So like I said, this is a 1 million simoleon mansion, and I've had this idea on my ideas list for a while, but I've just never really had the time to come to it, because it is kind of, you know, a little bit more thought into it, because you've got to kind of make sure you're putting a lot of stuff into it to get to that price, because I always end up making, like, you know, fairly pricey builds in like the couple of $100,000s, but I never seem to get to 1 million. I think I only really remember getting to that point like maybe once or twice. If anybody remembers the Stonemere estate build that I did probably like a year ago now, that one was over 1 million. It might have actually been close to 2 million, I can't really remember. But that's the only one I can think of that's been, you know, that's hit that 1 million price mark. So here we are doing one today. Now, I didn't really plan to do it in Del Sol Valley, you know, and things like that. It just, when I kind of thought I'd get famous and all the items with it, it just kind of made sense. So I kind of just went to Del Sol Valley without thinking about it, to be honest. So that's what we're doing here. Now, this was actually really hard to do because I should have probably chose a bigger lot to do this on, but I actually did it on the 50 by 40 lot where, what's her name? The something Ward? I can't remember what her first name is. Is this Jennifer or something? Anyway, that person, you probably know who I'm on about. She actually lives on this lot, so I built it where she lives. And it took me probably about an hour and a half to do this entire build, which is no time at all. It was just at the end, once I'd finished everything, I had to go back through because I was like 100,000 short. I was like, how on earth am I going to make up this money? So basically what it involved was just going around and finding as many blank walls as I possibly could and just filling them with the most expensive paintings in game, like the 8,000 ones. So that's kind of how I got the price up. And I was kind of thinking, does this look a bit ridiculous? But I was thinking, well, actually, it probably should look a little bit ridiculous because it's very expensive and glamorous and stuff like that. So in the interior, I did use a lot of Get Famous items, like those really luxurious royal looking you know, I can't think of sofas and curtains. I don't know why I couldn't think of those names, and I kind of just did that for some of the bedrooms as well. And then I used some stuff from Vintage Glamour, and just arranged different packs really. So I actually went ahead and used the Get Famous windows as well, because I thought that kind of goes really well with the theme. So I did that on the bottom floor. And I had to use medium wall height, which I don't actually do a whole lot of. I always like, well, I much prefer using the short wall height. So I did that on the top. The problem is, and I always have this problem, is that you don't really do like medium first floor and then a medium upper floor. It's more like a, you know, like a medium bottom floor and then a short wall height on the upper floor. And that's what I did here, like normal. But I always have problems trying to kind of find matching windows to the Get Famous ones, because Get Famous windows aren't available in the short wall height. So that was a little bit challenging. So I just went ahead and used the Seasons ones there, which don't really fit perfectly, I don't think, but you know, it works. And then the backyard area, as you can see, it's got a big pool area. And actually what I did was, which I don't do a lot, you know, that often, you probably don't really notice it, but what I actually do a lot is I use train paints in the, you know, in the exterior like normal, but I kind of made the backyard area more paved and actually put like stone tiles down, if that makes sense. So you see that a little bit later. That was just switch things up really, since I don't really do it a lot. So we're just working a little bit on the interior now, and we're starting off with the kitchen. So kind of what I did as well is that, as you can see there, we're just using like a regular fridge there in a regular oven. Well, a little bit later, when I was kind of thinking how on earth I'm going to make this more expensive, I totally forgot about those like 13,000 in the 14,000 ovens and fridges in that we're having game from base game. Aren't they called like Schnappy or something like that? Something along those lines. I know it begins with SCH. I can't remember the exact name, but it's something along those lines. So I went ahead and kind of just changed it out. So if you're somebody who is also maybe doing something like this, where you're trying to get the price up, kind of just going around and, you know, just changing up items and upgrading them, those paintings as well, and also the violins, which are 15,000. I put a few of those around the place. And I was thinking, is this a little bit excessive? But I made it so it doesn't look like, you know, totally like I'm just trying to get the price up and that's the only sort of thing behind it, if that makes sense. I try to make it look a little bit more natural, if that makes sense. So we're just working on one of the bedrooms here. Again, I'm going for the very expensive items. Now you can see that we are using a Get Famous chair there, which has like the white and gold. And at first I wasn't really too sure if that really fits the colour scheme. And the Get Famous items, I've noticed, I had a lot of trouble with those, with the colour swatches of those items to try and make them match with everything else. So you may think that that doesn't really look that right. But I don't really know. I think afterwards, looking back at it now, it looks okay. But at the time, I was thinking this doesn't really match. But then at the same time, they're going to have, the person who lives here is going to have very glamorous and over the top items. So I suppose it kind of makes sense a little bit. So now we're just working on this little greenhouse area. I'd imagine that, you know, the people who live here probably have a gardener doing everything for them. So they probably don't need this. But it was just something else I kind of put on that, can't speak, to put on that side of the garden. Because I didn't really know what to put there. It was just something to fill the space up with. Also as well, this particular backyard area isn't really fenced in, if that makes sense. I kind of want it to be all open, and because there's a really nice view pointing out of this, like if you look from the back of the house outwards, all that really nice view of Del Sol Valley. So I just went ahead and kind of left it open so it wasn't too enclosed. Now it just sort of have that little public garden thing just below it, which may make you want to, you know, go ahead and, you know, put some fence there. But if you think about it, the Sims, you know, random townies aren't really going to come into your lot, so you don't really have to worry about that. But for really, like, realistic purposes, I suppose, you may want to add that in, but I don't really find it a problem. And we're also doing this sort of like little gazebo area. It's not like one of the ones I normally do, like the octagonal room with the glass roof. This is just like a little, I don't know, like a little frame sort of thing with the low-lying fence. So I went ahead and did that there, and just put a few seats in there, and one of the little outdoor heater things, which you probably don't need in Del Sol Valley, but I kind of thought it fits that theme nicely if there's been a really luxurious mansion. And there's also a study as well, I don't know if I mentioned, and I also totally forgot to mention the number of bedrooms and bathrooms. So in this build there's actually 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. Now maybe that's a little bit of a small amount of small amount of bathrooms compared to bedrooms, so I don't know if you want to add another bathroom in or something. What I actually was going to do was do a basement and actually do like a little area down there with like a photo booth, because that's actually something I've seen somebody suggesting a comment of recently, doing like a photo booth in the house, which is something I actually don't do a lot. I was going to do like another little like cinema down there, another bedroom, another bathroom, but I don't know if you know this, but when you have train editing on the lot, so as you can see I've done a little bit of train editing in today's build, when you go ahead and do a basement, it totally messes it up. So I had to just take that out because I really wanted the train editing to be there, so I had to sacrifice, you know, the basement. But I'll go ahead and do it in another build. I actually don't do basements at all, really. I've noticed that I don't really do basements that often. It's probably because I don't really feel the need to do it, since a lot of the builds I do are mansions, which are big enough, so I never really think to do basements. But you know, maybe I'll do one next time. So we're just doing a little bit of landscaping now, and also towards the end, another thing I did was that I looked through all the landscaping items that we have in game, and I tried to find the most expensive ones. I think the most expensive one is actually, well, I didn't really look at trees, but in terms of plants and flowers, I think it is a one from Get Together. It was 550. It was like this little sort of sculptured hedge thing. I don't really know what kind of shape you would describe it as. It's sort of like a fountain, it looked like, made out of hedge. And there's also a little elephant one as well. So with that little hedge one, and also the rose bush from Romantic Garden Stuff, the overgrown one, those two are quite expensive. What I did was that I sized them down to the lowest it'll go and kind of just put them inside the plants as like a little cheap way to get the price up, because I was really struggling towards the end. So I don't know if I mentioned, but in total this house came to 1,003,000 and something or other, hundreds, I can't remember those, but the correct price is on the gallery if you want to go ahead and check the exact amount. But it is at least over $1 million. So we're just working on another bedroom here, again fairly neutral like all my builds, even more so in this build because I felt like doing kids rooms and stuff wouldn't really fit this type of build, and also was trying to go for the most expensive beds, which are like 15,000, so you know, choosing kids beds wouldn't really take me a lot longer, I think, to get to $1 million. So all the bedrooms are fairly neutral today. You did also see one of those bathrooms that I didn't actually do on camera, but I went ahead and used one of those really expensive jacuzzi beds, and also put like a little marble sort of console table behind it and put a few things on there. And yeah, so now we're just working on the dining room. Now this dining room I'm not really too sure about, especially those chairs, because they are very kind of different to the kind of colour scheme that's going on here. You have all those kind of, you know, light woods with the floor, and then the darker kind of colours on the walls, like those brownie tones, and then you've got the black chairs, which I don't know if goes that well, but If you want to change those, that's fine, but again, I was kind of just going for things that are really expensive, and I suppose the owner of this house wouldn't really care about that because they have a lot of money, so they don't really need to think about if things match, just getting the most expensive things they can. And what was the other thing I was mentioning? Oh, that was it. So I was thinking, you know, how I was mentioning earlier about how those sort of Get Famous chairs in that bedroom didn't really fit the colour scheme, and they've got these chairs as well. I'm kind of thinking that this is more sort of like an eccentric sort of style, because there's lots of things going on, which I would imagine would be for somebody living in this house, because they might want to go for very antique things that are very expensive, and also some modern aspects as well, and kind of just getting loads of different things, and over the years it's kind of just collated into this big mess of styles, but I don't really think it's a mess, it's just a lot of different things going on. But yeah, so we're just working on another bedroom here. As you can see, I'm going for those very fancy wallpapers in the bedrooms and stuff, from base game actually. I don't use a whole lot of them because they've got like a very particular style to them that I find don't really work in the very sort of updated style houses that I do. Not really modern, but not quite traditional. I like kind of house styles in between those, I would say. So those very fancy wallpapers from base game I don't really use a whole lot of because, you know, well, they are very fancy, so they don't really fit in that well. So this room right here is like a very sort of formal living room, I guess. Well, there's actually 2 living rooms in this build. If you saw that guest house thing on the side of the house where you have to go to that separate room, on the left hand side, if you look at the house from the front, which is different to the thumbnail because that's the back of the house. Anyway, that separate room at the side of the house is another living room, but it's actually very formal as well. It does have a big TV in it, but this one doesn't. This one that we're working on now, it's just the big fireplace. So you know, I suppose that one's a little bit more formal. This is the room I'm talking about here. As you can see, it is still very formal, but it does have a TV in it, so maybe this is like the family room sort of thing. And there's actually a lot of seats in this room here. Now, I was sort of like thinking, is this maybe a little bit over the top after I'd finished it, because there's a lot of seating in this room. But then I was kind of thinking, well, the person who lives here probably has a lot of parties and stuff, and they want to show off their nice house, so they probably have a lot of people here for gatherings and stuff like that. So, you know, when you kind of think about it that way, maybe having all these seats in here isn't such a bad thing. So there's also a big bar area here too, as you can see. I believe there is one in the dining room too, so there is multiple ones in this home. I do that a lot actually with mansions when it's like a bigger, you know, area to kind of fill. I normally put a few bar areas in. So this is, I don't really know if this is the master bedroom. It just probably have the nicest furniture and stuff, but there are some other bedrooms which are probably slightly bigger than this one if you want to go by size. And I think another one as well has its own ensuite bathroom too, so it's up to you really. You can decide which one's the master bedroom. I always say that really because I always find it difficult to decide, because you can see here this room does have a like an ensuite bathroom, but it's a little bit bigger than the other one, which has the fancier furniture, so I always find it difficult to decide which one you would like to class as the master, so I'll just leave it. Can't speak, I'm talking too fast. I'll just leave that up to you. So we're just working on another bedroom here. Now, I don't know if this one is the last one. I think maybe one more after this. And I also went ahead and put a lot of those, you know, fancy paintings I was on about as well. A lot of the bedrooms have their own little seating areas too, if they have the space for them, and have those really fancy, Get Famous sofas in there, which are the really expensive ones. So I use those quite a lot actually through this house. For the same reason of kind of getting the price up a bit. But yeah, so we're about to head on the screenshots in just a second. I really hope you enjoyed. In the comment section down below, let me know about what you thought of this build. If you have any more suggestions for other mansions or builds in general you want to see next, that'd be really helpful to hear in the comment section. Leave a like, share and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!